Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Usmakanam Saparitajagataja Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees online. Thank you for your time and association as we go through Srimad Bhagavatam systematically. associating with Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports. Today we are covering Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 8, verses 26 to 28. The prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. Om Jnanatmi Vandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Piyusha Sarva Vedeka Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokatri Prada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu Kalidando Didaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churn from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna, who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varsha Sharayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisance to you by reading you once names transcendental bliss. For your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madeka Bandhu Mat Sangim Mad Guru Man Mahadana Man Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Madananda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my great teacher, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Asadu Sadhu Tadai Nati Nichota Taraka Anamunchakada Chinmam Premna Ritkata Yospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplift to the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest in my heart and my throat. Accompany me with your love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janmadyasya Yatonvayari Taratas Charte Swabhigna Swarat, Tene Brahma Hidaya Adikavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya, Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatrati Sargom Risha. Damna Svena Sadani Rastakokam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, all pervading person out of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahma, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion as one is bewildered by illusory representation of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifest by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, though they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in transcendental abode, which is far free from the illusory representation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Prayanalpaisha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Mandabagi Upadarta. O learned one in this iron age of Kali, many but short lives, they're quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayam Namaskritya Narachevam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful praise unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Guru and Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Sarvaipum Saparo Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radokchaja Hitya Pratyata Yatma Suprasidati. Supreme occupation dharma for all humanities, that by which man can attain loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyasa Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Haitukam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of God as Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires costless knowledge and detachment from the world. Vadanti tattvavidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth calls non-dual substance Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. Shru Shru Shosha Dananasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtash Nishevana. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shranvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Riddantastoya Badrani Vidunati Suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nastarpashu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamaslokhe Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna. So let us cover some feedback from last week's set of verses, Canto 1, Chapter 8, verses 21 to 25. Please share any feedback that you took from last week's session, what caught your attention, what really went deep, what you found astounding, interesting, and that you really want to apply and take in your life. Madhachana Siddhi says, when we become too absorbed in our material life, and even if Krishna is there as the super soul calling us, we forget our services. Then Krishna kicks the cart by bringing some calamities in our life to give us a reality shock, to remind us that we don't forget him. Yes, Krishna is very kind, and Krishna wants our love. He knows that our love is our love for him, and his love for us is what will make us happy. And unfortunately, we can be distracted. This material world is a world of distraction. Everything is designed to distract you. And therefore, Krishna creates calamities to bring us back on track. Hemavati Radhika says, Queen Kunti feels very fortunate. So should we, because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And we should share with others so they can feel fortunate. Yes. Queen Kunti, her prayers are extraordinary. She is very, very intelligent, super Krishna conscious. As we go through these prayers, we see the out-of-box type of prayers that she's offering to Krishna. Extraordinary prayers that people wouldn't even think of offering. She is glorifying Krishna. She's submitting to Krishna, pleading to Krishna. So very, very wonderful and beautiful verses. Nalini Kanta Prabhu says, when calamities come, we should use this as an opportunity to remember and thank Krishna. And they will come, rest assured. And these will be the playground, a testing playground to see, are we remembering Krishna? And a calamity may come and I may not remember Krishna. In fact, I may only remember Krishna after a few days when I contemplate back and I say, wow, I went through that and I didn't even remember Krishna. And I'm supposed to remember Krishna. So that's glorious because you actually remembered, even though it wasn't at that point of the calamity, but after a few days of the calamity, you recollect and you say, wow, I didn't remember Krishna. Next time I have to remember Krishna. So in this way, slowly you'll find that it may take 3 days and it may take 2 days later, and then after it take a day, and after a few more calamities, just few minutes after the calamity you remember, and then you remember Krishna at the time of the calamity. And this is glorious. And this testing is wonderful. Yes, you can remember Krishna without tests, but the tests will definitely tick the mark. Say, are you really remember Krishna? Because we know we must remember Krishna at the time of death. The question is whether we're going to remember Krishna at the time of death. And therefore, these tests are very, very good. And if we are able to remember Krishna at a time of calamities, when the greatest calamity comes upon us, which is a death, then we will be able to pass the final lesson of death. So tests are very conducive for us to grow and to see whether we're learning the lessons. It's extremely important. I like how Krishna, Nalina Prabhu says, I like how Krishna is compared to a lotus, so beautiful, and also becoming more and more attached to the Lord. So nice. Wonderful. All right. Thank you for your feedback. Let us proceed, and I'll share before we go to our next session. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary to verse 25, where Queen Kunti is praying that, my Lord, please bring calamities, because if you bring calamities, we know that you will come to help to save us. And when you come to save us and we see you, there is no birth and death. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, these dangers are a great blessing to me, O Guru of the universe. To give benefit to us, you destroy unsteadiness caused by intoxication with material comfort by giving the ointment of dangers arising out of your mercy. Through those dangers, yet we can see you. By seeing you, we no longer see the suffering of material existence. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving a very wonderful analogy. Ointment of dangers. Krishna is giving us the ointment of dangers. When somebody has a disease in the eye, they put some ointment. The pure devotees, they have ointment of love, pure love. And the physician, he would treat the eyes by giving you specific ointments for healing. So Krishna gives us the ointment of dangers. And we can see dangers not as obstacles, but actually as ointments for curing our disease in this material world. So we are again continuing 18 to 44 prayers of Queen Kunti. And today we're covering 26 to 28 qualifications to approach the Lord. These are very, very powerful prayers. In fact, text 26 was one of Srila Prabhupada's very often quoted verses. And very, very important points. And the lessons that Queen Kunti is going to share in these prayers are extremely important for us to lay the foundation in approaching Krishna and for Krishna to be our only wealth in this world. So let us hear Srila Prabhupada chanting these prayers, and let us take these prayers through Srila Prabhupada's transcendental sound into our hearts.
Janmai Sajja Sutta Sribhi Redhamana Madapuman Naivarahata Bhibhatum Vayi Kamakim Chanagocharam Namaste Purusachadyam Issaram Pravite Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antadvahi Namastitam Namo Kinchana Vittaya Nirvitya Gunavittayi Atmaramaya Shantaya Kaivallapataye Namah Namaste Purusachadyam Issaram Prakite Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antadvahiravastitam Manmetam Kalamishanam Anadi Dhanam Vibham Samam Charantam Sarvatya Bhutanam Janmithakali.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Exclusive shelter. These verses that we're going to cover, they are revealing Queen Kunti's prayers and heart that Krishna is her only shelter. And Krishna should be our only shelter. In Bhagavad Gita, text 41 of chapter 2, Lord Krishna says, Vyavasatmika buddhir ekeha kuru nandana bahushaka yanantascha buddhayo vavasainam. Those who are resolute on this path, those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and the aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branch. So we want to be fully resolute in our purpose, in our goal, in our object, in our lover, and that is Sri Krishna. No other person and no other thing. So no other personality in creation, in the universe, the demigods, other people, other personalities should be the object of our love. And no other person or no other thing in this material world should be our source of shelter. Every other form of shelter in this material world is called durashraya, false or bad shelter. It's guaranteed to fail you, whether it's a thing or whether it's a person. Guaranteed. Sooner or later, just by the nature of time, these shelters will fail you. The only shelter that would not fail you is Krishna. Prabhupada said, don't even trust me, only trust Krishna. We know the pure devotees who are completely dedicated and surrendered to the Supreme Lord, they are trustable. But Prabhupada is teaching the lesson. First and foremost, trust Krishna. And in this way, as we develop our shelter, surrender to Krishna, then everything else will be wonderful. So text 26, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he summarizes this text 26. The security of material world is actually a danger. Very astounding statement. Because people think the security of the material world is security. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, just like he gave the beautiful analogy of the ointment of danger, now he is giving a very interesting statement. The security of the material world is actually a danger. Why? Because when you get material security, you're thinking you are secure, you are safe, but that is actually an illusion. That's actually an illusion. And because of that illusion, you're actually in danger, thinking that you're actually secure. The only safe and secure place is Krishna's lotus feet. So in this verse, Queen Kunti is describing who can easily approach the Lord. Very, very important verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes very, very often. Janmeshwarya Shruta Shribi Edamana Mada Puman Naivarhatya Abhidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Go Charam. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Those who, because one who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feeling. So there's two aspects of this verse. Queen Kunti is describing those who are materially exhausted. Now, sometimes this verse is misunderstood in that you need to be a pauper, you need to be completely poverty-stricken, materially exhausted for you to be Krishna conscious. No, that's not the understanding of this verse. This verse is describing that those who are on the path of a material progress, the intoxicated mada, edamana mada, they are intoxicated by material progress. And Prabhupada is going to tell us, define that more clearly. They cannot address the Lord with sincere feeling. So if we want to call out to the Lord with sincere feeling, then we need to heed this instruction from this prayer. Prabhupada starts the purport. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family, possessing great wealth and education and attractive personal beauty. So these are the four material opulences in terms of material advancement. Janma, birth, means aristocratic birth. Somebody wants to be born in a very aristocratic family. Aishwarya, opulence, wealth. Shruta, education. People want knowledge, they want education. And beauty, Shri, beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences. And this is known as the advancement of material civilization. So now Prabhupada is giving us a definition of materialistic men, materialistic life. And we see this materialism basically means people striving for these four opulences. They want more and more material opulence. They want more and more wealth. They want, they want to be known that I'm born in a very, very aristocratic family. They want beauty. They want education. This is basically material civilization. But the result of this type of path, where one is mada, intoxicated, because if you're on this path, there is no limit to how much you want. You want more and more and more and more, and practically you get into this rat race of wanting more and more and more, and get completely consumed by these opulences and the striving for these opulences. So what do they cause? Prabhupada says, but the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. And this intoxication leads to one having false shelter, one thinking one is safe, one thinking, I'm better than you. So in so many ways, this pride, puffed up type of mentality is born out of these types of opulences. One actually begins to exploit others when one has these opulences. This is the danger. And we see this very, very graphically and clearly in this material world. Now, someone may say, well, what's wrong with being artificially puffed up? What do they cause? So Prabhupada says, consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly, O Govinda, O Krishna. And this is the essence. This is the challenge. This is the problem. Naturally, people who are after these opulences, most of them not even interested in Krishna. So they're already caught up and leading to their frustration and disaster. But those who are interested in spiritual life, if they get caught up in this trajectory, then they will not be able to call out with feeling the names of Krishna. Because they think, I'm safe. So why should I call out to Krishna? I'm not in any danger. I got security, I got guards, I got my home, I got so many opulences, I'm safe and sound. So that's the difficulty, that's the challenge. It is said in Shastra that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency. But there is a quality to such utterance also. So now Prabhupada is spending a little more on the holy name in terms of calling out. So there's the calling out of the holy name. That means with one's sound, using one's voice. And there's also the quality of the chanting with one's heart. So both need to be there. There need to be a synchronicity in terms of one calling out at the same time. Using one's heart means chanting with feeling. Prabhupada often say we should not be chanting like the parrot, because the parrot can chant and you can teach the parrot to chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Prabhupada in a lecture says, as soon as a thief comes and the parrot chants Hare Krishna, and the thief catches the throat of the parrot to kill it, the parrot will go and dies. So at the time of death, the parrot did not chant the holy name of Krishna, and the parrot can also not chant with proper feeling. So this uttering the holy name of Krishna is very important, but uttering with feeling is even more important. Prabhupada then continues. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. And this is what the verse is implying. This is what Queen Kunti is saying, that when we're in danger, we call out to you very, very sincerely. Now we're not in danger, we may not be able to call out with that same sincerity. Therefore, please, my Lord, don't go or bring more dangers. So Prabhupada was making the point, those who have a great material satisfaction, they have so much opulence surrounding them, that sincerity of dependence on Krishna, that will never be born. Whereas those who are materially impoverished, those who don't have these shelters, they are helpless. And therefore, in desperation, they call out to Krishna. They cry out to Krishna. And that crying out, that calling out is very, very conducive for one's relationship to Krishna. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature, as much as fever is an external feature of an unhealthy body. So Prabhupada is now giving an example of how these opulences can be disqualification, especially for spiritual advancement. If a body has a fever, you want to reduce the fever. Similarly, the soul has a material covering, this external covering, and you want to reduce that attachment to the external covering and those that promote attachment to the external covering. So these opulences, birth, wealth, education, and beauty, they increase the material fever. They increase our attachment to material life. And therefore, we want to spiritual life means we want to reduce, not increase. Material life means increase, spiritual life means decrease. The general process is to decrease the degree of the fever and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it is seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of the temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to more and more illusioned aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for the entrance into the kingdom of God. So very, very clear in terms of these obstacles that may be there. And we have to be very, very careful of these obstacles and be vigilant that we don't get trapped by these opulences, because they are very attractive. And the association we have in this material world is encouraging people to strive, because success in this world is measured by your birth, is measured by how much opulence, wealth you have, is measured by how educated you are, is measured by how beautiful you look. And these, unfortunately, will not allow you to call out with feeling to the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada in his lectures covers some of these points, very wonderful. A kinchana, one who has nothing. Prabhupada says, kinchana means something. So na kinchana means one who has nothing to possess. He is called na kinchana. Or one who is fully convinced that nothing belongs to me. He is a kinchana. Now Prabhupada is defining in this lecture very, very nicely what a kinchana gochara means. Because a kinchana gochara means that person can approach Krishna. That person can call out Krishna. It's not that you should be poverty-stricken, and if you're poverty-stricken, you can call out to Krishna. No. It's that even if you have opulences, you understand very clearly nothing belongs to you. That is a kinchana. You understand very, very clearly that everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, even though the opulences may be there, you simply using those opulences as a caretaker of somebody else's property, of the Supreme Lord's property, for his service and not for your sense gratification. That is a kinchana. And Prabhupada now gives his example. My Guru Maharaj forced me to take this life. I have told you that I was thinking that when I was dreaming that my Guru Maharaj is asking me to come out, and I was afraid, oh, I have to give up my family, and I have to become sannyasi. I have to go behind my Guru Maharaj. No, it is terrible. It is horrible. I was thinking, but he forced me to it. He is so kind that he forced me somehow or other. That is mercy. I can understand now that how much merciful was my Guru Maharaj that he forced me to take this life. I have lost everything. That is the best qualification for Krishna consciousness. This position is very nice. Nishkinchana. I've lost everything. I'm now not cared by my family, my friends, so everything I've lost. Therefore, I am forced to come to you, surrender. So don't kick me out. Please give me shelter because I have no other shelter. Tuma bina ke acha mara. There is nobody else to take my care except your Lordship. This is called niskinchana. See, and this feeling of niskinchana cannot come when one has unlimited or great opulences. And this is the challenge. This is the difficulty. And therefore, Queen Kunti is revealing in this prayer that we need to cultivate this consciousness of total dependence, because as long as we don't purify ourselves sufficiently, this will never happen. And Krishna can remove opulences from our life so that we can depend on it, and therefore it can become a blessing. If we become proud shilling men, poverty men, then Krishna will be finished. Prabhupada says, so long we shall think that for my protection, this arrangement is there. That is not niskinchana. Niskinchana means when I think I'll be actually under the understanding that I have no other protection except Krishna. And then I fully surrender. That is the best qualification for Krishna consciousness. Therefore, I am so much after books. If we forget our position, if we become proud shilling men, property men, then Krishna will be finished, because Krishna is a kinchana gochara. Now, it's important to appreciate and understand, it does not mean that we do not protect ourselves, as I mentioned last week. For example, Prabhupada, he would have a trunk with keys and a lock. So he would lock the trunk. And Prabhupada would have a lock for the trunk itself and put that into a safe. And so Prabhupada would have keys and locks to protect his assets. He didn't say, well, Krishna will protect, Krishna will take care, because we actually depend on Krishna for protection. No, he made sure that he looked after the assets that he was totally convinced belongs to Krishna. In fact, one servant who was looking after the set of keys, Prabhupada had a set of keys, a key for a safe that had keys for his almirah, his trunk. And when the servant lost the key, eventually found, but when he lost the key, Prabhupada said, call all the GBCs. It was very, very, Prabhupada was very attentive to security in that sense. Now, it doesn't mean that Prabhupada was careless and therefore thinking, right, Krishna will protect. No, he made arrangements. Similarly, we also make arrangements. But when Prabhupada was making arrangements, he was making arrangements with full conviction and faith that Krishna is the ultimate protector, nobody else. The challenge in the conditioned stage is we make arrangements for protection, and we have more faith in the protection, material protection and arrangements that we made than in Krishna. This is the danger. So therefore, I want to make arrangements, but never ever wane our faith in the protection of Krishna. And that requires maturity, that requires advancement. Then Prabhupada says that comfort will be realized only, not Krishna. So we should always remember that whatever we are trying for material, it is for Krishna, nothing for us. Therefore, you remain a kinchana. This is the point. People acquire so much opulence, so much wealth, education, etc. Why? For me, so that I can have a good job, so that I can have a lot of wealth, so that I can enjoy. People want to become beautiful. Why? So that others will glorify them, others will be attracted to them, so they can enjoy. People want wealth so that they can get sense gratification. We find this is the general tradition. This is the path that everybody follows, even religious people. They perform dharma so that they can get artha, wealth. They go to the temple, to the church, to the mosque, etc., to get material opulence, artha. And why they get artha? For karma, sense gratification. They don't even think of going further into mukti. So this is the danger. But you want to understand that material opulences that I receive is only for the pleasure of serving Krishna. No other agenda should be there. If there is any other agenda, rest assured you will be trapped and you will be driven away from Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says this is a razor's edge. You are in one lecture, Prabhupada talks about serving the deities. And Prabhupada says you have to be very careful. You are serving Krishna. You're not serving any other person. You're not serving some Tom, Dick, and Harry. You're serving Krishna. Therefore, be very careful. Because if it's like if you mess with the wrong person, you're in trouble, right? If you mess with Krishna, you're in trouble. If you want to cheat Krishna, Krishna is the greatest cheater. So if you get opulences, and in the name of for Krishna, you get opulences, and then use it for sense gratification, you are playing with fire, the greatest fire, and you will get burnt. Therefore, only someone who's a kinchana, who's completely materially impoverished, which means he has no material attraction. He's not interested in material advancement of life. He's not interested in getting sense gratification. He's not interested in depending on this material world for his pleasure. His pleasure lies 100% at the lotus feet of Krishna. That person is a kinchana. And that person can approach the Supreme Lord, chanting his names with feeling. Prabhupada continues. And if we think that we have got now very big house, we shall live comfortably and sleep comfortably, then Nago Charan, then Krishna will not be realized. Then that comfort will be realized only, not Krishna. Akinchana Gochara. We should always remember this. So this is Queen Kunti's prayer. Very wonderful. We cannot get Krishna by taking shelter of material opulences. We get Krishna's shelter by taking 100% shelter of Krishna and totally depending on him. So I'm going to share a beautiful example. And as we mentioned, it's not about being poverty stricken. It's not about not having sufficient, or let's say a reasonable amount of opulence, shelter, roof, food, clothing, protection, so that one can practice Krishna consciousness nicely. It's not about that, but it's about the mentality that I'm a kinchana, mentality that I don't own anything. Everything belongs to Krishna. That's the mentality. So there's this beautiful personality called Pundrik Vidyanini. And I'll read a little about him and then I'll share the wonderful pastime in relation to Gadadhar Pandit and Pundrika Vidyanidhi. So Sri Pundrika Vidyanidhi came to Navadvip because he wished to live by the bank of the Ganges. Mahaprabhu, Srijat Mahaprabhu, the indweller of all beings, knew prior to his coming that he had such a desire. And one day in the assembly of devotees started calling out, Pundrika, my friend, my father, and crying. So Srijat Mahaprabhu was calling out to this personality who had never come to Navadvip yet. But the Lord was calling out, just like when the Lord called out at River Padman, Narottam, Narottam, even when Narottam was not even born. The Lord called out to Narottam das Thakur. And the devotees were surprised. Who's this Narottam that the Lord is calling out? He must be a great personality if the Lord is calling out. And in fact, the Lord deposited his pure love in the River Padma and told River Padma that when Narottam comes, you give him this love. And she deposited this love into the heart of Narottam. And Narottam das Thakur became so infused with that love that when he would sing, he would practically infuse people with pure love of devotion just through his singing. So similarly here, the Lord was calling out to Pundrik, my friend, my father. When his associates asked him why he was crying in this way, the Lord described Pundrik Vidyanidhi to them in the following way. So here the beautiful description that Srijat Mahaprabhu gives of the glories of Pundrik Vidyanidhi. His character is quite extraordinary. Just by hearing his name, the whole world is purified. And he dresses and looks just like a materialistic man, materialistic person in the midst of the countenance of life of pleasure. No one is able to recognize him as a Vaishnava, yet he remains constantly merged in the deep ocean of devotion for Krishna. He never bathes in the Ganges because he is afraid to touch the holy waters with his feet, which would show disrespect. He only goes to take darshan of the Ganges at night and from a distance. He cannot bear to see people engage in offensive behavior in the Ganges by guggling, cleaning their teeth, washing their hair in the water. So he never goes there during the daytime. He never engages in the worship of the deity without having taken a drink of the Ganges water. He has homes in both Chittagong and in Navadvip and will soon be arriving here. Because of his apparently materialistic behavior, you will not be able to recognize him, but I feel unwell because I'm not able to see him. So this is the wonderful glory of Pundrik Vidyanidhi. And it's described that Pundrik Vidyanidhi, he is actually Vrishabhanu, Srimati Radhavani's father in Krishna Lila. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with the heart of Radhavani, is calling out my father. And he's also Krishna, and therefore Krishna also accepted King Vrishabhanu as his father. Therefore he's calling out my friend and my father. Now, Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu, he was his life he was a brahmachari, and he was living very simple life, very renounced life. And Mukunda, who was a disciple of Pundrik Vidyanidhi, wanted to bring Gadadhar Pandit to see Pundrik Vidyanidhi. So when Pundrik Vidyanidhi came to Navadvip, then Mukunda took Gadadhar Pandit. Now Gadadhar Pandit in Chaitanya Leela, we know is Srimati Radhavani. And Srimati Radhavani's father is King Vrishabhanu. So now Radhavani, Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu, is now going to meet his father, King or Pundak Vidyanidhi. So Mukunda brings Gadadhar Pandit to see Pundak Vidyanidhi, and this is what he sees. When he saw Pundrika sitting on comfortable cushions, covered in sheets as white as the foam of milk, wearing very expensive clothes and perfumes, smoking from a hookah, and generally surrounded by all the trappings of sensual lifestyle, he was unable to recognize him as a Vaishnava. So the whole description is given of the environment. There was, if you had to walk into that environment, you would be seeing someone who is externally so sensuous. His hair was combed. He had servants, so much material facility. You would think this is a pound and shillings man, materialistic man, practically surrounded with so much opulences. So when Gadadhar Pandit saw this, he was thinking, why did Mukunda bring me to this materialistic man? How can he be a devotee? How can he be Krishna conscious? How can he have love of Krishna? And then Mukunda saw the expression on Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu's face that, this can't be a devotee. Mukunda then chanted 2 prayers from the Srimad Bhagavatam in relation to the glories of Krishna killing Putna and giving her the position of a nurse. And when Mukunda chanted these 2 prayers, verses from the Bhagavatam, and Pundrak Vidyanidhi heard these prayers, he went into ecstasy. He practically fell to the ground in ecstasy, started rolling on the ground, tearing his clothes, hitting all the paraphernalia that was there for his pleasure, practically uncontrollably, completely overpowered by ecstatic emotions, love of Krishna. And when Gadadhar Pandit saw this, he knew he made a mistake of misunderstanding Pundrak Vidyanidhi, and he accepted that the only way to nullify the mistake is to take full shelter of him. And then when Pundrak Vidyanidhi recovered from his ecstasy, Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu surrendered, revealing his mind and surrendered, and Pundrak Vidyanidhi initiated him as his disciple. So this is how externally it seems that Pundrak Vidyanidhi has a lot of opulences, but those opulences are not for his sense gratification. It's not that he's taking shelter. It's not that he's deriving, he's attached to them and he's deriving pleasure from them. No, his pleasure, his attachment, his heart is 100% at the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is a Kinchana Gochara, the example of a Kinchana Gochara. Now, our goal should be, the ultimate goal should be Krishna Prem. There should be no other goal, there should be no other object. The ultimate goal in our life must be, should be Krishna Prem, pure love of Krishna. There should be no other ultimate goal. Then we have an immediate goal. And the immediate goal is Anartha Nivriti. So our ultimate goal is Krishna Prem. The immediate goal that we're striving for is Anartha Nivriti, to become free from all unwanted opulences. And then the immediate goal, right now, that we have to focus on is to live a life, live a distraction-free sadhana life. We want to live the life of sadhana bhakti free from distraction. We don't want to get distracted. And there may be many areas, many aspects of life that keeps us, that takes us and distracts us. For example, inattentive chanting, offenses to devotees, namaparad, material opulences, These are different bad association. They distract us. They keep us distracted. So we want to keep focus on the goal. And this verse is sharing the lifestyle that we have to cultivate. That's the lifestyle of full dependence on Krishna. And that needs to be cultivated. It's not that we just get this, we wake up next morning and I'm fully dependent on Krishna. No, it's a cultivation, anushilanam. It's a cultivation. So we have to cultivate it, but you can only cultivate something that you are aware of. Just like if I say, go please, plant some roses, cultivate some roses, then you have to understand what is a rose plant, what seasons you need to cultivate roses, what you need to do to take care of roses. You have to understand. Or we could use even a more spiritual example, to cultivate Tulsi Devis, Tulsi plants. So you have to understand what she likes, what she doesn't like, how she flourishes, what can be certain obstacles in cultivating Tulsi. And in this way, once you have the knowledge, then you can start applying that in cultivating Tulsi. So similarly, in Krishna consciousness, we have to understand the goal, understand what's required, and then act on it. And as we're acting, as we're going on this journey, we have to be very careful that we don't get sidetracked, that we don't get distracted. Because the nature of material life is to distract you. That is the material advertisements. All the advertisements that are there, that are bombarding the living entity, they are there simply to distract. Prabhupada was in America, and he was with one of his servants. And there was a television in the house. So they had like a rented temple. And in this temple, there was the television set. So one day Prabhupada told the servant, please switch on the television. And the servant was, just joined, and you had opened yourself Srila Prabhupada. So he was thinking, but we don't watch television. So he was a little surprised what Prabhupada is going to, watch. So he switched on the television. Prabhupada saw immediately there was an advert of, the advert was of the washing machine becoming a personality. And the advert was demonstrating the washing machine. And Prabhupada started to laugh so much. And this devotee was a little caught out, like, Prabhupada was laughing at his head. Sudama. So when Prabhupada laughed, Prabhupada said, just see, this is your people's culture. That you animate everything to distract people to embrace unwanted things. This is material life. We increase so many unnecessary, unwanted things, and therefore we should be very, very careful. Text 27. So now this verse is also linked in terms of akinchana gochara. We don't want material opulences and take shelter of them and be distracted by them, because we will not be able to chant with feeling, with sincerity, because that full dependence on Krishna has not matured. So therefore it becomes a distraction. Now Queen Kunti says the Lord reciprocates with akinchana bhaktas and others. Namo akinchana vitaya nivrita guna vrittaya atma ramaya shantaya kevalya pataye nama. My obeisances unto you, Namaha, who are the property of the materially impoverished. Akinchana vitaya. So the same akinchana gochara, the same people who are kinchana in the previous verse, who are materially impoverished. Here, Queen Kunti is saying, you are the property of the materially impoverished. You are their property. So this is very, very interesting point. You are not interested in material opulences, therefore you are kinchana gochara. But Krishna is named a kinchana vitaya. That means Krishna is the property of the kinchana gochara. and someone somebody is materially impoverished, but has Krishna as their property, then my question to you is, how wealthy are they? If somebody is materially impoverished, but they have Krishna as their only property, how wealthy are they? What do they have? What don't they have? And Prabhupada would always say, if you have Krishna, you have everything. You have all knowledge, you have all opulence, you have all protection, you have everything. So this is Akinchana Vitaya. Yes, everything. Queen Kunti then continues. You have nothing to do with actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, Atmarama, and therefore you are the most gentle, Shantaya, and the master of the monas, Kaivalya Pataya Nama. So she's glorifying Krishna's qualities and traits. Krishna is Nirvita Guna Vritaya. He has nothing to do with the reactions and actions of the material modes. He's self-satisfied, Atmarama. He's peaceful, he's gentle. He's the master of the monas. He's the master of those who want impersonal life. In this verse, she's also focusing Krishna. This verse also touching Krishna's feature as Brahmajyoti. So Prabhupada, in the purport, and we shared a little about this word Akinchana Vitaya, unto the property of the materially impoverished. So Prabhupada starts off his purport. A living being is finished as soon as there is nothing to possess. It's a very interesting statement Prabhupada starts off. Living being is finished as soon as there is nothing to possess. So it's by nature the living entity wants to possess. If he doesn't possess anything, he doesn't feel valuable. The problem is in the material world, we want to possess illusion, temporary opulences. We want to possess snakes with fangs. We want to possess poison. That's the danger. What we should be possessing is Krishna Prem. When we possess Krishna Prem, then we are perfect. As long as we don't possess Krishna Prem, then we are finished. Continuing Prabhupada's purport. Therefore, a living being cannot be, in the real sense of the term, a renouncer. A living being renounces something for gaining something more valuable. A student sacrifices his cherished proclivity to gain better education. A servant gives up his job for a better job. Similarly, a devotee renounces the material world not for nothing, but for something tangible in spiritual value. So we are renouncing the material opulences to get Krishna. Now Prabhupada gives an example. Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and others gave up their worldly pomp and prosperity for the sake of the service of the Lord. They were big men in the worldly sense. The Goswamis were ministers in the government service of Bengal. And Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was a son of a big zamindar of his time. But they left everything to gain something superior to what they previously possessed. The devotees are generally without material prosperity, but they have a very secret treasure house in the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is wonderful. When people hear the previous prayer of Queen Kunti, one should become a Kinchana Gochara. Oh, how can I be a devotee now? We find Yudhishthira Maharaj, he spoke to Lord Krishna and said, my Lord, how come your devotees they are impoverished. And Lord Shiva's devotees, they are so opulent. It's like, how is that possible? Why is that possible? And Krishna said, yes, he does that so that they can depend fully on him. And it's not that devotees don't have opulences, like we gave the example of Pundik Vidyadini. There are many kings. King Prataparudra, he was a king, he had so much opulences. You find Majudishthir, King Parikshit, they were the emperors of the universe, of the material world, so they had so much opulences. But they never took that opulence for their sense pleasure. They were, even amidst all that opulences, they were a kinchana, because they accepted that everything belongs to Krishna. So here also, the Goswamis, they gave up all opulences to get Krishna, to get a greater opulence. We're not sacrificing material pleasure to become more depressed. We're not sacrificing material opulences to become more poor. No, we are sacrificing material pleasure to gain greater pleasure. That pleasure which is temporary, flickering, which is wonderful in the beginning and poison, nectar in the beginning and poison in the end, we are giving that up. To get what? To get pleasure that's anandam buddhi vadanam, pleasure that's ever increasing, pleasure that has no limit, pleasure that is out of this world. That is the pleasure that we are getting from the spiritual world. So therefore, if you had to go to a businessman and tell a businessman, listen, I'll give you, if you give me 10 rand, I'll give you 100 rands. That businessman is going to make that deal again and again and again, because he knows, wow, you're going to give me 10 rand, I'll give you, and I'm going to give you 10 rand, you're going to give me 100 rand. Perfect, I'll take that deal. So that's what we're doing. We're giving up something of a lower nature to get something of an unlimited, inconceivable nature. So therefore, devotees are happy to sacrifice material opulences because they're getting the greatest secret treasure house in the lotus feet of the Lord. There's a nice story about Srila Sunatan Goswami. He had a touchstone with him, and this stone was left in a pile of refuse. A needy man took it, but later on wondered why the valuable stone was kept in such a neglectful place. He therefore asked him for the most valuable thing, and then he was given the holy name of the Lord. Akinchana means one who has nothing to give materially. A factual devotee or Mahatma does not give anything material to anyone because he has already left all material assets. He can, however, deliver the supreme asset, namely personality of God, because he is the only property of a factual devotee. So a devotee, a factual devotee, a pure devotee, a Mahabhagavad devotee, the only property he has is Krishna and Krishna, nothing else. Now the converse is also true. The only property Krishna has is his pure devotee. The touchstone of Sanatan Goswami, which was thrown in the rubbish, was not the property of the Goswami. Otherwise, it would have not been kept in such a place. This specific example is given for the neophyte devotee just to convince them that material hankerings and spiritual advancement go ill together. This example is given for the neophyte devotees just to convince them that material hankering and spiritual advancement go ill together. Srila Sanatan Goswami could have used the touchstone, because the principle of Vairagya that Rupa Goswami has taught is to engage everything in the service of Krishna. So then the question can be raised, why didn't Sanatan Goswami use the touchstone to build the temple of Madan Mohan, to help build temples and preach Krishna consciousness? He didn't do that. Why not? The Reason is probably saying because he wanted to give this example to the neophytes. So what he did was he took that touchstone and put it in the rubbish dump. And he focused on his bhajan, he focused on his relationship with Krishna. So the example that he's teaching is for us, for the neophyte, that we need to take the material hankerings, the want for material opulences, for sense gratification. We need to put that in the rubbish dump. And we should focus on our relationship with Krishna, because both of them go ill together. You cannot have material hankering and material sense gratification and spiritual advancement. This brings to the same example that I give of crossing a river with two boats, one leg in one boat and the other leg in another boat. Exactly the same point is made again here. And again, why does Prabhupada repeat himself? Because we don't get the point. So therefore, Prabhupada will keep repeating according to the different prayers and according to different pastimes, these points, so that once we get it, our life becomes solidly founded so that we can make advancement. Prabhupada continues, unless one is able to see everything as spiritually in relationship with the Supreme Lord, one must always distinguish between matter and spirit. See, as conditioned souls, as neophyte souls, we're not advanced enough to have a clear understanding. This is for Krishna's pleasure and this is not. And therefore, I need to make a very clear distinction between matter and spirit. And I want to try to associate with that which is spirit and spiritual and avoid that which is matter and material. And I will try to engage with matter just so that I can live healthy, have sufficient time to do my necessities in maintaining this body, and rest of the time to engage in spiritual life. A spiritual master like Srila Sunatan Goswami, although personally able to see everything as spiritual, set this example for us only because we have no such spiritual vision. So because we cannot distinguish how to use or what to use for Krishna's service, sometimes we may use things which we don't have the capacity to use, and therefore we can get entangled. It's safer to be simple, to have the bare necessities, and then use most of your time for Krishna's service. When one becomes advanced and Krishna then gives one the opulences to use in his service, then that is a different journey. In relation to understanding that everything belongs to Guru and Krishna, we shared this story of Dhanur Das and Hemamda. In our previous lessons, I shared a video clip of how this wrestler who was walking backwards with an umbrella and seeing the beautiful eyes of Hemamda or Hemamba. And Ramanujacharya, when he saw this, he was surprised, and he asked Dhanurdars, what you're doing? And he was saying, well, her eyes are so beautiful, and I adore beautiful things. Therefore, I can't take my eyes out of her beauty. And Ramanujacharya said, well, if I show you something, if I show you more beautiful eyes, what would you do? He says, no, there cannot be more beautiful eyes than Hemamba's. And when Ramanujacharya showed Dhanurdas the beautiful eyes of Ranganath, he was completely caught, he was totally mesmerized and surrendered fully to the Lord's service and the service of Ramanujacharya. So this Dhanurdas, he was becoming the favorite of Ramanujacharya, and the other disciples of Ramanujacharya, they were becoming envious of him. So they went to Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya, understanding the mentality that why Dhanurdas was actually his favorite, he decided to test and show by an example. So they were together, and he instructed his disciples that you go home in the night, go to Danda's house when he's not there and his wife is there, and you steal all the opulences from his wife while she's asleep. So one night when Danudar was not there and his wife was asleep, the brahmachari disciples of Ramanujacharya, they went and they found his wife asleep with opulences. So immediately they started to steal the opulences, jewelry, whatever ornament she was having. And the wife, knowing this, that they were stealing, thought, okay, I should also let them steal the other side. So she started to turn the other side. And when she started turning on the other side, the disciples thought, oh, she's waking up, let's run. So they immediately ran, leaving the rest of the jewels. Then they came back to the ashram, and Ramanujacharya said, now you go home, follow Danudar, and see how he responds. So then they followed Danudar to his home. Danudar didn't know what was happening. He came, and his wife revealed that this was the situation. And she said, some thieves came and they were stealing, and I tried to turn around to give them, the jewels on the other side, but they ran away. And Danudar chastised his wife. And he said, you're so foolish. Couldn't you just stay still and not distract them so that so they could steal all the opulences? Because that way they would give all opulences and not just part of the opulences. So he chastised her, even though she tried to give them the opulences, but he chastised her for not giving everything away. Why? Because he didn't think that it was his in the first place. This was all the opulences of his spiritual master, of Krishna. So if Krishna wants to take the opulences, then so be it. If the Guru wants to use the opulences, so be it. So akinchana means, as we described, one who possesses nothing. And here, somebody who possesses nothing but possesses Krishna, then he is a kinchana vitaya. And Krishna possesses that person who has that devotion, who has Krishna in his heart. And therefore, Krishna and the relation between Krishna and his devotees are very, very strong. Krishna will do anything to protect his opulence, his devotee, and the devotee will do anything to protect the opulence of Krishna, having Krishna. Then Prabhupada continues, advancement of material vision or material civilization is a great stumbling block for spiritual advancement. Such material advancement entangles the living being in the bondage of a material body, followed by all sorts of material miseries. So this is the danger, linking also to the previous verse. This is the danger of material advancement. It increases the material bondage, and when you increase material bondage, it increases material miseries. So if you don't want material miseries, don't increase the fever of material bondage. And you don't increase the fever of material bondage by not increasing material advancement that entangles one. Such material advancement is called anartha, or things not wanted. Actually, this is so. In the present context of material advancement, one uses lipstick at the cost of 50 cents. And there are so many unwanted things which are all products of material conception of life. Now, Prabhupada is giving a very practical example. of anartha, of unwanted things, of material advancement that entangles. In the material world, you have to use lipstick, because if you don't use lipstick, then you're not being materially advanced. You will be seen as someone who's very slow. You just don't have the proper image. So people have to use lipstick as an example. But probably saying lipstick is unwanted. It's anartha. You don't need lipstick to make your lips more beautiful. It's just an anartha. Krishna made your lips as they are, and they should be kept like that. Natural, simple. But someone who's caught up in this materialistic civilization, they will want to follow the Joneses. They want to follow the trend. And in this way, they get caught up. Oh, I have to use lipstick. So then they use lipstick, and they have to pay for that. And like that, lipstick is just one example probably using. There are so many unlimited examples of traps that we fall prey to in this material world. And we have to be very, very careful of them. So therefore, Prabhupada is warning us that we don't want to get caught up in all these unwanted things. By diverting attention to so many unwanted things, human energy is spoiled without advancement of spiritual realization, the prime necessity of human life. The attempt to reach the moon is another example of spoiling energy, because even if the moon is reached, the problem of life will not be solved. You can put as much lipstick as you want, you're going to die. And you're going to get born again. You can go to the moon, you're going to die. So Prabhupada is very practical and very realistic. No matter how much material advancement you make, if you're not solving the problems, the true problems of life, birth, death, disease, and old age, then it's a waste. It's the waste of resources, it's the waste of wealth, it's the waste of your time. Therefore, we should be very, very selective, and we have to be very careful. Prabhupada is then telling us what a devotee does. The devotees of the Lord are called a kinchana because they have practically no material assets. Such material assets are products of the three modes of nature. They foil spiritual energy, and thus, the less we possess such products of material nature, the more we have a good chance for spiritual progress. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no direct connection with material activities. All his acts and deeds, which are exhibited even in this material world, are spiritual and without affection for the modes of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that all his acts, even his appearance and disappearance in and out of the material world, are transcendental. And one who knows this perfectly shall not take his birth again in this material world, but will go back to God. The material disease is due to hankering after and lording it over material nature. This hankering is due to an interaction of the three modes of nature, and neither the Lord nor the devotees have attachment for such false enjoyment. Therefore, the Lord and the devotees are called Nivrita Guna Vritti. The perfect Nivrita Guna Vritti is the Supreme Lord, because he never becomes attracted by the modes of material nature, whereas living beings have such a tendency. Some of them are entrapped by the illusory attraction of material nature. So we want to be free from being entangled or hankering after and lording it over material nature. We don't want to become masters of nature. We don't want to become masters of opulences. We don't want to exploit resources. We don't want to strive for material sense gratification. This is all the disease and ramification of material advancement of life. So we want to become free from the interactions and the attractions of the modes of material nature. Because the Lord is the property of the devotees, The devotees are the property of the Lord reciprocally. The devotees are certainly transcendental to the modes of material nature. That is a natural conclusion. Such unalloyed devotees are distinct from the mixed devotees who approach the Lord for mitigation of miseries and poverty, or because of inquisitiveness and speculation. The unalloyed devotees and the Lord are transcendently attached to one another. For others, the Lord has nothing to reciprocate, and therefore he is called Atmarama, self-satisfied. Self-satisfied as he is the master of all the monas who seek to merge into the existence of the Lord. Such monas merge within the personal effulgence of the Lord are called Brahmajyoti. But the devotees enter in transcendental pastimes of the Lord, which are never to be misunderstood as material. The Lord reciprocates and has a relationship with those who have the Lord. Whereas others, the Lord is not really interested and is neutral. He allows the modes of nature to deliver whatever they need. So he doesn't really interact with them. He's Atmarama, he's self-satisfied, does not reciprocate. With those who want material prosperity, who want opulence, who want material things, then they go to the Lord, they pray, and material nature then delivers. They get piety, etc. Those who want to merge with the Lord, and in the Brahman effulgence, they get the result and they merge with Brahman effulgence. But the Lord personally reciprocates, personally takes care of those who are Akinchan and those who have him as their property. Because those who have Krishna as their property, Krishna has them as their property, and therefore Krishna will do whatever it takes to protect his property, the devotees of the Lord. Now here we have the beautiful example that I'm going to share of Qualifications. He was completely poverty-stricken, yet he was the most wealthiest personality. And Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanted to reveal this to the devotees. We gave the example of Pundak Vidyanidhi, who had so much opulences that it seemed like he was materialistic, yet he was a pure devotee of the Lord. Here we have an example of Qualifications, who's completely poverty-stricken, yet he's the most wealthiest. So I'll read a little about Qualifications, and then I'll explain a little. One of the 12 Gopalas in Krishna Lila was named Kusum Masava. He appeared in Gaura Lila as Sridhar Pandit, who was given the nickname Kola Becha, bark seller. So you'll see there's a picture of where Qualifications stayed. He would sell. At that time, it was a banana leaf plantation, and a lot of banana plants were there. And Qualifications would sell different banana products. He would sell the barks. He would sell leaves, bananas, etc. So he would sell different things. One day, the Lord went to Sridhar's place and asked him why he was so poor. He was worshipping the husband of goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and yet he never had enough money for food or clothing, and his house was dilapidated. On the other hand, those who worship the bloodthirsty Kali always seem to have an abundance of material wealth. Sridhar answered that a bird who made its nest in the trees and wandered from place to place to find food was passing the time of day in the same way as a king in his palace who enjoyed the best objects of gratification. There was no difference of degree or amount of pleasure experienced by the two. The Lord then said to Sridhar, externally, though you appear to be poor, you are actually a true rich man. I will shortly reveal to the entire foolish world that a devotee is qualified to possess the greatest wealth. Indeed, they are the owner of all things. So I'll share this beautiful pastime when, firstly, let us understand Qualifications Sridhar's position. He was so poor that it's described his hut had so many holes that he would see the moonlight every night. Water would be dropping. If it's raining, there would be practically water all over in his hut because it was so dilapidated. His dotis, well, his doti, he had one doti, had so many knots on them. Why? Because as they would get as his doti would go out and there would be a hole on it, he would make a knot where the hole is to repair that hole. So therefore, he had a doti with full of knots. He was so poor, and one of the only objects of the property that he had was a iron pot, old iron pot. And he would use this one iron pot for every function for his livelihood. He would use it for bathing, he would use it for passing stool, doing his morning ablutions. He would use it to cook. He would use it, for drinking water. And he had this one old pot that he would use. So when Sri Mahaprabhu victoriously defeated Chankazi through his first disobedience movement, naturally at that time, practically the whole of Navadvip knew the glory of Sri Mahaprabhu, became so famous. And after the Lord had defeated Chankazi, the Lord then went on with his devotees through the village and came to the house of Qualifications Sridhar. He just achieved such a great feat of defeating Chankazi. And now, after that, he was now going to reveal the glory of Qualifications Sridhar. So he came to Qualifications Sridhar's house, and in front of the house, or front of the hut rather, not a house, this old hut was this pot, iron pot, and there was some water in that iron pot. That same iron pot that Qualifications Sridhar used for all his duties. Yeah, they use it. It's not for using the toilet. They use it to wash. It's not a toilet pan. Mother is just telling me because people may have this concept. It's not using as a toilet pan. In India, they don't have a toilet. They go and perform their ablutions, and they use, like Prabhupada taught the disciples how to wash, right? Not use toilet paper, right? To use water and wash after one passes. So that she just giving side note, just so that people have to understand. So the spot was there, and Sri Mahaprabhu was water. So Sri Mahaprabhu took that water and he drank it. And when Qualifications Sridhar saw this, he fainted. How can the Lord do this? But the Lord went into ecstasy by drinking this water. The devotees were surprised. They were shocked. When Qualifications Sridhar awoke, the Lord came in and asked, Qualifications Sridhar, in fact, started glorifying Qualifications Sridhar. Because Qualifications Sridhar, the Lord said, you have worshipped, you have become pure because of your association with the pure devotee Mother Ganga. And you have never become angry when I was fighting with you. Every day when Qualifications Sridhar would be selling his plantain products, his banana products, plantain, bananas, etc., cups that he would make, banana leaves, then Sri Mahaprabhu would come, and it's described that Qualifications Sridhar was very honest. And people didn't really, because he was born in a very low family, people didn't really give him much respect. But he was very honest. So he would sell whatever products he would have, and half of the money he would use for his maintenance and half he would use for the worship of Ganga. So Shiji Mahaprabhu would come and take, the banana cups, and he would bargain, he would fight. For half an hour to 1 hour, they would be fighting. Shiji Mahaprabhu would not want to pay the proper price. He would just want to pay, half the price. And after bargaining and, fighting to and fro, then Shiji Mahaprabhu would give him, half the price and leave. And in this way, this would, be like a regular event. Eventually, the Lord, while he was bargaining, he would tell Qualifications, listen, you sell this thing for nothing. Why don't you just give me for free? And eventually, Qualifications Sridhar, he only wanted to see the beautiful face of Nimai. So every time Nimai would come, he would be very happy, and he would then give Nimai different products. So the Lord, when the Lord saw him at home, at his hut, the Lord said, you never got angry. And one day I'm going to reveal to the devotees that you have the greatest wealth. So during the Mahaprakash Leela, 21 hours where the Lord was revealing his supreme personality, supreme position, and blessing all the devotees, the Lord asked the devotees to call Qualifications Sridhar. Qualifications Sridhar was called, and he came in front of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Qualifications, I'm so happy with your devotion. Please ask for boon. I want to give you the 8 mystic yogic perfections. And Qualifications Sridhar says, I'm not interested. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept on coercing, no, you have to ask. You have to get a boon. Please ask. And Qualifications said, okay, if you want to give me a boon, then give me a boon. And that same Nimai who was coming to this poverty-stricken Brahmana to steal and bargain for his products, lifetime after lifetime, I would have you coming to bargain and steal and take my products. That is the boon I want. So when the devotees heard this, when Sri Mahaprabhu heard this, they could understand how advanced Sridhar, Qualifications Sridhar was, that he was not interested in any material opulences, even up to the 8 mystic perfection, yogic perfections, siddhis. But he simply wanted this loving relationship that he had with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then in the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, this verse, beautiful verse is there, and Srila Bhakti Maharaj gives a beautiful commentary on it. Who can recognize all these servants of the Lord who want neither wealth nor followers, nor even scholarship? Of what use are learning, wealth, beauty, fame, or high birth? All of these things simply increase one's pride and are ultimately valueless. A millionaire may try for millions of years to achieve what Sridhar did, simply by selling bananas and banana products, and still not be able to do so. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur comments on this verse as follows. Through empirical knowledge or external analysis, no one can recognize the true character of a devotee. It should not be thought that the ability to collect great amounts of money is a function of devotion, nor that someone who is able to accumulate a great number of followers is a better Vaishnava than someone who cannot. Furthermore, if someone is a great religious scholar, does not mean that he is a devotee of the Lord. A servant of Sri Chaitanya might have very little money, may show no sign of having great number of followers, and may have no talent for argument or debate. And ordinary people are unable to understand why he is indifferent to these externals. These devotees consider service to Sri Chaitanya to be something more valuable than accumulation of wealth, followers, or learning. Thus, there is no possibility of the depth of their wisdom, their glory, and their superiority being perceived by the general public. So real opulence is having Krishna. Real opulence is having Krishna's loving service. If we have the opportunity to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that service is the greatest of all opulences. If we have love for Krishna, that is the greatest of all opulences. And if we have Krishna, then that is the greatest of all opulences. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives a very beautiful translation of this verse as well. He says, those who do not have anything materially speaking, kinchana, but possesses only you, who have a body of complete knowledge and bliss, are alone your unalloyed devotees. They are the abodes of prema and are thus like treasures who should be hidden from everyone. I offer respects to you who possesses these treasures of akinchanas, akinchana vitaya. But akinchanas are poor. That is true. The devotees of the Lord do not have the wealth arise from the guna of Maya, nivrita. They have the Lord who is devoid of all material enjoyment, nivrita guna pritaya. The Lord's attachment to the kinchana bhaktas are described. Now, his detachment from others is shown, atmarama. If the devotees make offense to the Lord does not become angry. He remains peaceful, shantaya, showing mercy to his devotees. He also assists those devotees interested in liberation, kaivalya pataya. So Krishna, because of his loving relationship with his devotees, even when his devotees make a mistake, the Lord is very kind and helps them. Right? Whereas those who are non-devotees, if they make a mistake and offend the devotees, then the Lord shows his anger. So these are the wonderful qualities of Krishna. Prabhupada in his lecture on this verse shares, Krishna wants that you get full experience that by material gain, you'll never be happy. Lord is situated in everyone's heart. So he knows everything. That you still want some material, you still want something material. He will give you. Yes, you take it. Krishna wants that you get full experience by material gain. You will never be happy. This is Krishna's business. So if somebody is interested in material opulence, somebody wants these things, Krishna will give. No problem. You'll get, but you'll never be happy. I was forced to come to this position to carry out my order by my Guru Maharaj. I got good opportunity for becoming very rich man in business. And some astrologer told me that you should have become like Birla. So there were some chances, very good chances. I was manager in a big chemical factory. I started my own factory. The business was very successful, but everything was dismantled. I was forced to come to this position to carry out my order of my Guru Maharaj. Akinchana vitaya. When everything was finished, then I took Krishna, that you are the only. Therefore, Krishna is Akinchana vitaya. When one becomes finished of all material opulences, it is the greatest gain. And now I'm realizing that I have not lost. I have gained. That's a fact. So to lose material opulences for Krishna's sake is not loss. It is the greatest gain. When one becomes a kinchana, nothing to possess, everything finished, then Krishna becomes the only riches for such person. And then the last verse for today. Manyatvam kalam ishanam anadi nidanam vibhu samam charatam sarvatra bhutanam ya mitakali. My Lord, I consider your lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. So now Queen Kunti is glorifying Krishna as the super soul, as Paramatma, and she's revealing that Krishna is eternal time. In the material world, Krishna is eternal time. He's the supreme controller, and she's also revealing contradictory qualities. He's without beginning and end. He's all pervasive. So he's in one place, yet he's all pervasive. Contradictory qualities can be in Krishna. And in the material world, generally, we have dualities. We have experience of dualities. In Krishna, there is no dualities. In the material world, time has beginning, middle, and end. In the spiritual world, there is no beginning and there is no end. Time is eternal. So these are some of the traits, some of the qualities of Krishna that she is sharing. And Krishna is equal to everyone, which means that Krishna is not biased. Krishna is not deciding who to punish and who not to. That reward and punishment is given by the living entity's own interactions in society, according to karma, according to their activities. They are destined to get the happiness and suffering rewards. So Prabhupada in the purport says, Kunti Devi knew that Krishna was neither her nephew nor an ordinary family member of her parental house. She knew perfectly well that Krishna is the primal Lord who lives in everyone's heart as the super soul, Paramatma. Another name of the Paramatma feature of the Lord is Kala, or eternal time. Eternal time is the witness of all actions, good and bad, and thus resultant reactions are destined by him. So Krishna appears in this world as time. Those who do not surrender to Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, will be forced to surrender to Krishna in the form of time. So we see every facet of our life is controlled by time. If you analyze, all the goals that you make is made by time, and time will dictate and time will control. Life, enjoyment, suffering is all controlled by time. Your past karmic reactions is delivered by time. Whatever you do during this time, your current time, your now, your present time, is going to impact your future time. So every aspect of our life, every part of our life, every aspect of creation is controlled by time. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm the destroyer in the form of time. So those who do not surrender to Krishna, they surrender to Krishna in the form of time. Nobody can say, I'm free from time. I can do whatever I want at any time. No, you'll be forced to surrender to time. So this is the quality that she's revealing in this verse. And because Krishna is time, and Krishna in the form of time is witness to all your activities, good and bad, then according to time and according to the material nature, you will get the corresponding results. So it's not Krishna that's causing suffering, or Krishna is favoring someone and giving them happiness. No, It is simply their own past actions that are delivering the corresponding reaction. Therefore, when you understand Krishna in the form of time is controlling everyone and everyone's karma, giving them what they deserve, when you know that, then you will understand that if I don't want bad reactions in the future, then let me change my current activities aligned to these prayers of Queen Kunti, which is teaching that I don't want to be engrossed in material sense gratification. I don't want to depend on material sense gratification. And if I live my life in that way, then I will naturally get the benefit of that lifestyle. It is no use saying that we do not know why and for what we are suffering. We may forget the misdeed for which we may suffer at the present moment. But we must remember that Paramatma is our constant companion, and therefore he knows everything past, present, and future. And because Paramatma, feature of Lord Krishna, destines all actions and reactions, he is the supreme controller also. Without his sanction, not a blade of grass can move. Living beings are given as much freedom as they deserve, or misuse of that freedom is the cause, and misuse of that freedom is the cause of suffering. The devotees of the Lord do not misuse their freedom, and therefore they are good sons of the Lord. Others who misuse freedom are put into miseries, destined by the eternal time, eternal Kala. Kala offers the conditioned souls both happiness and miseries. It is all predestined by eternal time. As we have miseries uncalled for, so we may have happiness also without being asked. For they are all predestined by Kala. No one is therefore either an enemy or friend of the Lord. Everyone is suffering and enjoying the resultant of his own destiny. Result of his own destiny. This destiny is made by the living being in cause of social intercourse. Everyone here wants to lord it over material nature, and thus everyone creates his own destiny under the supervision of the Lord. He is all pervading, and therefore he can see everyone's activities. And because the Lord has no beginning or end, he is known also as the eternal time Kala. In the material world, time destroys. And therefore, because people have forgotten Krishna, influenced by material attraction, enamored by material opulences, proud and puffed up of their opulences, forgetting to surrender to Krishna, they are caught up in the cycle of vicious actions and reactions. And when they see that there is no solution out, because time is giving them suffering, time is controlling them, they want to come out of the influence of time. But nobody can come out of the influence of time, eternal time, in this material world. In the spiritual world, time does not influence the same way as in the material world. So in the material world, people want to become free from the influence of time, and the only way they can become free from the influence of time is to forget time. And the only way they can forget time is to become intoxicated by different types of intoxication. So when they become intoxicated, then they think they are free, because now they're hallucinating in this type of free time environment, which temporarily gives them some sort of relief. And then when that wanes out, they back into the vicious cycle of control of time. Whereas a devotee of the Lord, because he does not exploit the resources of Krishna, because he is not interested in lording over material nature, because he understands he does not possess anything in this material world, everything belongs to Krishna and should be used in the service of Krishna. And because he cultivates that attitude and that consciousness, then the influence of time on him is totally different. For him, time influences and helps him cultivate deepens that relationship that he has with Krishna. And he's praying to Krishna that may that time come when I'm completely surrendered, completely in love with you. So this is the difference between those who are materialistic and those who are devotees. So we want to follow in the footsteps of Queen Kunti, praying to the Supreme Lord to become materially impoverished, knowing that he is the owner and the proprietor of everything. We want Krishna to be our only property. Therefore, we'll become the most wealthiest. And our goal is ultimately the greatest opulence that we can cultivate in this life is pure love of Krishna. And this brings us to the end of these sets of verses. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande. Are there any questions or comments anyone has? As we hear these prayers on our journey in Krishna consciousness, they will become deeper and deeper and have different depths of meaning. Because as we evolve in our Krishna consciousness, then naturally these verses will respond and reciprocate and resonate on a different frequency. Srila Prabhupada's beautiful purports are so amazing that they're able to address and share and guide devotees on every level. So those on a neophyte level will gain the wisdom, become more Krishna conscious. Those who are on the middle level will gain the wisdom to become even more advanced. And those Mahabhagavats, they will gain the wisdom on that level. This is the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's purports. Right, Mother Lesh says, Hare Krishna, thank you for the wonderful Krishna Katha. The verse of Queen Kunti reminds me of the verse in Sri Shastakam. I don't want wealth, woman, I only want Krishna as my worshipful Lord. Yes. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. I don't want any of these things. And it's also in relation to the last verse of Shishastika, that even if the Lord embraces me or handles me roughly by his embrace, still Lord Krishna will be my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So that's the same themes of the prayers of Queen Kunti. That yes, we're not interested in anything material in terms of opulences, followers, fame, adoration, prestige. These are traps on the path of spiritual life. Our object of wealth is Krishna Prema and Krishna. Shamananda Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Top purports from Srila Prabhupada reminds us how to chant the holy name of the Lord, that we have nothing to renounce, not to spoil valuable energy and time in mundane things, that Krishna as Kala governs everything. Yes, wonderful. And that point of chanting is also very, very important for us to contemplate. That's why Prabhupada says we should chant like a child crying for its mother. A child can only cry for its mother when the child is desperate, when the child desperately needs its mother's protection. Consider those of you that have children, as parents, when the child cries because the child wants some attention, as soon as you want some toy, let's say, as soon as you give the toy to the child, maybe the child stops crying, like there was no problem. That type of crying, wanting something, hidden agenda, that crying is the crying of people in the material world. our type of crying needs to be, as Prabhupada says, a genuine cry for the attention of the mother. So that genuine cry has to come there. But that genuine cry can never come if you have false protection, security, and shelter. Or if you're not interested in Krishna's shelter. So Krishna consciousness really is a movement of training us how to genuinely cry for Krishna. Prabhupada coined the term chant and be happy. That's really to attract people. But really, the essence is really chant to cry. That's what our movement is all about. We're trying to chant to come to the level of crying for Krishna. Just consider, we are so fallen, so deep in Maya, that we don't even know we are deep in Maya, and therefore we can't even cry that we're in this situation. Because we're thinking, life's okay. Life's not okay. When you realize this, you will cry and cry and cry that how could I be in so much illusion and so much Maya, that even in such deep Maya, I'm thinking I'm okay. So it's a crying movement. Amavati, Radhika says, real nectar, thank you so much for beautiful class. Thank you. Thank you. Mother Uttanarani says, amazing class. Krishna Devidasi says, Hare Krishna, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us on these blissful topics that prompt us to introspect, to become better devotees. Srila Prabhupada's purports are like that. He's making so many wonderful statements, and we could contemplate on each of his statements, discuss his statements and really churn. And when we discuss like this, when we share each other's realizations and contemplate, meditate, then we're able to take these instructions deeper into our consciousness and make them our life and soul, so that we can transform, so that the pure devotion that is there can be revived, it can be cleansed. We don't want to stay mediocre. We don't want to stay neophyte. Just like I don't want to be in kindergarten school for the rest of my life. I don't want to be a baby for the rest of my life. I want to grow up. Sometimes the parents will tell the children, grow up. So we want to grow up. Similarly, in spiritual life, we want to grow up. We don't want to be in kindergarten school. We don't want to be neophyte and stay neophyte. That means there has to be some fine tuning eventually. That fine tuning is for our betterment. That fine tuning is for our own Krishna consciousness. Mother Ratnalekha Gopi, you can unmute yourself as well. I've given you the option.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaji.
Okay, thank you so much, for your wonderful nectarian classes. I really feel absolutely guilty, and I'm sure there are many others on the platform that are also feeling the same. We can't be taking and taking and taking from you and not doing anything in return for this academy. So I'd just like to know, what is it that we can do as Dan Dakshina to you for this academy in our little way? Please, you've got to think about something that we can all contribute to. I'd really like for that to happen. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for bringing that up. And yes, don't worry, that challenge will be coming. How you can help. And how you can help is simply how you can help Krishna and how you can help Lord Chaitanya. So you will be able to help. Obviously, right now you can help by, for example, when I put on the YouTube channel, I put the links up. All you can do is go and make a comment. You can click on like, because that way the YouTube algorithm also circulates that to other people that come in contact with Prabhupada's Krishna conscious knowledge. So that's one way. But yes, I will be setting up ways for devotees to assist and support, ultimately to attract more souls. That's my goal, that's my mission, and to give people the opportunity to be Krishna conscious, and also to deepen our own Krishna consciousness. So look forward to this year, in the next few months, as I'm putting everything in place. We will be revealing that slowly in good time. And that's how you'll be able to actually support. Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Charamaj, when he got initiated, then he didn't collect any Guru Dakshin. So he went to Srila Prabhupada and he told Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I'm very sorry, I didn't collect any Lakshmi and Guru Dakshin to give you. And Prabhupada said, no, the greatest Guru Dakshin is your life. You have given your life. So I may not require monetary Guru Dakshin. Generally, when somebody gives knowledge in the Vedic system, you give them some Guru Dakshin so that knowledge becomes more solidified in one's heart. If one wants to do that, one can do that, but really it's about taking the knowledge in one's own heart, applying this knowledge, and that way becoming more a wonderful servant of Srila Prabhupada. That is the greatest Guru Dakshin. That is the greatest offering, that we are able to chant purely. If we can just inspire ourselves and we can inspire anyone else to chant purely, and if we can chant purely, just like if any one of you are able to chant purely, and I'm in your association, then that's the greatest blessing, greatest gift in return. But yes, we will share exactly how you're able to assist for Prabhupada's pleasure. Right. Shamas, let's see. Right, Shama says, Hare Krishna, is the ultimate aim to pray for devotional service to the Lord lifetime after lifetime, or is it Krishna Prem, or should it be both? So Krishna Prem means you have pure love for Krishna, and pure love of Krishna means you are always ready to serve your beloved. You can't separate love and service. Therefore, Prabhupada said devotional service, loving service. You can't separate the two. So when you ask for pure devotional service, you are really asking for love. When you're asking for love, you are really asking for service. Right? Prabhupada said love is not static. It's not armchair philosophy. Oh, Krishna, I love you. Okay, what service are you doing? Now I'm just busy with the material nature. That is not love. So when you ask, my Lord, please give me pure devotion, please give me devotional service, please give me love for you, it's the same, it's synonymous. And depending on what resonates with you, you can ask. You'll see there are many prayers that some ask for Krishna Prem, some ask for service. Prabhupada's prayer in terms of the Hare Krishna mantra, oh Lord, oh energy Lord, please engage me in your service. This is what we're asking. Because when Krishna engages you in service, you become purified in the neophyte stage. As you become purified, you start to revive your love for Krishna. When you revive your love, you only want to serve Krishna. Just like the beloved, the relation between the lover and the beloved is that you always want to please the beloved. You always want to do some service. So that is why that request for asking, that request for asking for service includes pure love of Krishna. So we can pray. If Vashishta Mahaprabhu says, praise life after life, please give me devotional service. Rasaraj says, thank you for explaining the concept of being materially impoverished. Then only can we surrender to Krishna wholeheartedly. Even Srila Prabhupada's example, Krishna deliberately bankrupt his business for a higher purpose and gave him the wealth of Krishna consciousness to save the world. Yes. Rasaraj Prabhu is also saying Gurudakshin. Yes, it'll come. Don't worry. I'll be requesting. Jagannath Prabhu says, thank you, Prabhu. For today's most transcendental class, we're reading new texts every week. And the message coming up in the same, always remember Krishna and never forgetting. Yes. Shama says, thank you for your selfless service. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for all your feedback. All credit goes to Guru and Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. It is only by their mercy that we are able to share. And in my small, limited, insignificant way, I can purify my own life by sharing a little. And in this way, we all can help each other. We all can support each other. We all can help others come in contact with Krishna consciousness, with Srila Prabhupada's wonderful books, Srila Prabhupada's wonderful family. And in this way, help all of us to get the greatest wealth ever to exist in creation. Krishna's lotus feet and Krishna's love. Thank you very much for all your time. Next week, we're going to be covering verses 29 to 31. Okay. The Lord's nature is inconceivable and bewildering. So Queen Kunti covered the Brahman feature, she covered the Paramatma feature, and now she's going to cover the Bhagavan feature, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's feature as Bhagavan. So let us meet next week. Until then, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande, Hari Hari Bo.